burning a candle right now and it smells freaking amazing. Hello everyone! Today we will be reviewing the soundtrack, Dear Evan Hansen. Okay, so this show has been in Broadway for a while. It kind of came out beginning of 2017 is when it made it to Broadway. But I've heard about it for a while, but I never listened to it. I listened to the first song a while back. I was like, maybe not. I don't know. Put it down. I was working at camp this summer. Was bored, needed to listen to something as I edited videos. I turned it on and oh my gosh, it changed my life. So let's get started. By the way, if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. I upload videos every week on Wednesday. Give this video a big thumbs up though if you've listened to the soundtrack, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Let's get started. So the first song, Does Anybody Have a Map, introduces the characters, introduces the storyline, what's going to be happening, and it's actually really big into the musical. I listened to this song last when I went through the musical because first I started waving through a window, and then I was like, oh shoot, I haven't listened to Anybody Have a Map, so I went and listened to that, and I think I got more out of it because I just listened to the whole soundtrack than just starting it as the first song, because not only does it introduce the characters, but throughout the whole musical, the characters are searching for themselves, trying to see who they're going to be, and some of them end up lost throughout the musical of not knowing what to do, who they are as a person. They've lost themselves as a person, and if someone were here to guide them throughout the whole musical, then how different would this musical be? And it kind of shows like if anybody had a map to begin with, this musical would have happened. Yeah, so what really sold me to listen to the soundtrack was I was driving in my friend's car. We were coming back from a long day, and my friend is very into Broadway, and so he usually what he do go on Spotify, just put the shuffle button on some Broadway soundtrack, and through the mix, Waving Through a Window came on, and this was before I knew it was from Dear Even Hansen. I'm listening like, oh, this is good. I'm really connecting with this. Sometimes when I don't know what a song is called, instead of just asking, or sometimes when it's on the radio, I'll just like listen to lyrics and just type out the lyrics on the notes, and I'll just go on Google and put in, and that's what came up, and that's what really sold me into liking this musical. What I like about the music is modern, and maybe it's not as modern as Hamilton, but it's still modern, because you think of Broadway, you think of Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables, very good musicals, but they're not very current day type music. Whereas kind of I say this is even more modern than Wicked. And I think this show is very relatable to teens because this is high school. This is a story of high school. Like, the voices and the harmonies just send shivers down my spine. They were just so good. Like, the song, it goes like, no one deserves to be forgotten. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Ugh. Whew. I don't think it's going to be as popular as Hamilton, but I think it's going to be like up there because I don't know. I have a feeling about this one. They might reference the same phrases throughout the musical, but usually they'll keep the same tune. Like if you look at Les Miserables, there's just a lot of it is the same kind of sounding throughout the whole thing. Like they'll have parts where it's like, oh, this song is like this song, but it's with different words. Where this was like not so much the same melody and tune, but a lot with the same words. Like, for example, Waving Through a Window, you hear a lot of phrases from that song being repeated throughout the musical, and it kind of just ties it all in and brings it all back. And that's when you kind of start saying, character growth. Got it. The tone of the events are evolving, where it's breaking away from the past and bringing forward the present. And it's all connected in the great circle of life. And the story really is about, I guess it's about him who deals with social anxiety, but it's also about being lost and finding yourself amongst the wreckage. I think that's one of the biggest life lessons people learn in life, is there are times where we go through these events where we don't know who we are anymore. We get caught up in other things. We get caught up in people and other commitments, and eventually we end up losing ourselves, and it's trying to find the hope and the shimmer of light through the darkness and finding yourself amongst it. Because sometimes I think some of the things that happen to us is what makes us. Like, this is a story of adolescence. It can reach so many teens. So I'm going to youth ministry, so I have a passion for teenagers. I love talking to teens. I just like being in their lives, because I feel like during the teen years are just such lonely years. They're hard years. I think this story could actually reach a lot of people, kind of show you're not alone. You really aren't, and you're not going to be forgotten. There's so many people around. Some of the things that seem like they're so big at this moment are not. And I think this story is just amazing. Because I mean, the teen years are some of the most loneliest years. They're some of the most awkward years. And I remember feeling the same way in high school, of the loss, anxiety, not knowing what I'm doing with my life. And everybody's like, what college you going to? What college you going to? It's like, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like, you're old enough not to be treated as a baby, but yet everybody sees your problems as being small and not that significant. And it's not true. Your problems are huge, especially for at that time. And that's one thing I'm really working on. I want to work on in the future in my career is educating people that like what teens are going through is different than what probably you went through. And even though maybe from years of experience you can say, you know, what you're going through is not that big, at that moment in time for them that is huge. And I just really this is one of my biggest pet peeves, because I remember I heard it too, and people were like, oh, you don't have a problem. Every teenager goes through that. It's like, no. And so I like how that musical kind of brought in that, like, there's struggles in life, but you'll find yourself. So the song You Will Be Found is like a continuation of Waving Through a Window, and it's basically the redemption song of that song. In fact, it's actually the turning point of the whole musical. It starts low, a person wanting to be someone else, gets too high, but then falls and finds redemption within that. It's a basic character plot. Like, I think a lot of plots that are like this, like, you are not sure yourself, and then we get high, and then we go down, we sink, but then within that wreckage we find ourselves. And a good soundtrack to actually listen to is about stuff like this. The Oh Hellos, Through the Deep Dark Valley. If there was a worldly soundtrack that related to this musical, it would be that. Go give it a listen, and you gotta listen to it in order. And basically the whole message is, be yourself, or else everything you've gained in the process of being someone else is worthless. Because only your true self is what counts. Because one day you might wake up and have to find yourself again, and everything you just spent the years gaining of being a stranger in your own skin is gonna be worthless. It's a story of life. Sometimes you lose your way and become somewhere else for a while until you fall and crash, and it takes that to find who you truly are. And sometimes it is the best thing that could happen to you. And it's true. Sometimes we need to lose ourselves in order to find ourselves, because it's when we lose ourselves is like our wake-up call, like, oh, this is not who I am. I'm a stranger to my own face. And the song's words fail. We are once again bringing back those points and falling back to Waving Through a Window in a continuation, but as a much wiser person. It's like, I cried. I'm not okay. I'm just not okay. Just, oh my gosh, the soundtrack was so good. And the last song just brings it in perfectly. Like, it just wraps up the title of Dear Evan Hansen. And he's basically saying, you know what? You're going to be yourself today. And that's okay. And if people judge you, oh well. And I love that. Part of me though was a little disappointed by the last song, because the last song is supposed to be like, yes, bring the power. And it was kind of like, in a way it was a good wrap up song, but in a way it wasn't the song where you're like, wow, what did I just listen to? Because it's the first song that draws people in, and it's the last song that leaves an oh wow impression. Anyways, that was my review. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the soundtrack. If you've seen the musical, what do you think of the musical? Did you listen to the soundtrack and then see the musical, or what? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Bye!